So today's speaker brings more than 40 years of experience in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. And he's not just adapting to the future, he's helping define the future. Stephen Palm is the founder of Africuity AI, and he currently serves as a chief artificial intelligence officer. In 2024, CIO Today magazine named him one of the top 5 AI leaders driving impact. With 27 years in the United States Air Force, thank you for your service, where he led defensive cyber operations. Stephen has also advised the European Union, the U.S. National AI Advisory Committee, and the World Economic Forum. He combines unmatched technical depth with a track record of real-world leadership. He holds over 70 certifications in AI and emerging technologies, and he's a leading advocate for ethical, accessible AI that protects people and drives progress. So join me in welcoming Stephen. Stephen, welcome. Thank you for doing this training. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you. And everyone, that's a bunch of crap. I'm just a guy from East Texas, the backwoods. My hometown only has 2,000 people. I was raised on a farm. But one of the things I learned on that farm is integrity. Cows need to be fed, chickens need to be fed, and hard work. And I'm a hard worker, and that led me to this field, hard work, because initially, a lot of these things that you see, we had to create. It didn't exist. We didn't have all these threat avenues and ABTs and things like that, MSPs. You didn't have that. So being an innovator. So today I want to talk about AI in plain English from an MSP standpoint. Now, believe me, I know this. I've been part of when ACS used to go in and take clients and offshore. I've been part of an offshore, basically an MSP, because we had multiple clients at one time. I remember I was a senior engineer for all of Motorola from an MSP standpoint. It was my client. Aki Global was my client. And a lot of other companies from my Department of Education was my client. And so I understand that methodology from an MSP standpoint. I've done that over the last 40 plus years. I probably feel every position a person can have in cyber. Initially, we were all DP, then IT, then IS, and now cyber. So if you want to go way back, my first certification was Novell. I want to present to you AI in plain English, and then I'm not going to read slides. I'm not going to read a bunch of data off a bunch of slides. Carl's going to put my whole presentation in a PDF in the chat, because I want to have a conversation. I want to hear what you have to say. Let's resolve, and let me give the business use cases that are bothering you and bothering your clients. And then maybe we can get together at some point and try to figure this out, because there's going to be some of the problems going to be universal, some are going to be individual, but they all have one thing in common: implementation of AI from the enterprise to small business. It's the same thing. And we're going to break that down today the best I can for you. So I'm going to share my screen. Excuse me. Okay. And I hope you all can see this, but all right. So this presentation, this whole PDF is multi-purposed. And let me begin by saying the AI started in 1950. I got into AI around, I went to the Air Force in 84. I got into the AI side of things about 87, right? And what do you mean by the AI? Well, if you remember the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick and the Whooper machine, that was AI. I ended up working at SAC headquarters in the command center, right? So if you remember the next year, what came out? The Terminator, which was AI, which is almost happening. I don't know why we want that to happen, but it almost happened. So when generative AI came out, when Sam Altman released it in November of 22, I saw the evolution of what I saw in 83 and 84. I just saw it coming to pass. And one of the biggest problems we had, if you remember, before 1999, everything was mainframe based. However, after 1999, year 2000, the rise of the consultants came, which was the dot-com boom. And businesses changed their models. We went from EDI uploads to B2B on the internet. Everything had to change. Everything changed models. And then the rise came of Amazon and all these other things. right? They just rebranded what we were making because the F drive, all of a sudden, remember everybody had an ABC, D was a CD-ROM, F drive was the first network drive. The F drive became the cloud. By the way, which is amazing because when we were drawing our Visio diagrams, we went from one building to the next building. We drew a lightning bolt to the cloud, then a lightning bolt came down. So some marketing genius took the cloud and we started the whole cloud methodology, which is basically shared drives. Everything is still on shared drives. There's no no magical cloud up there or the genies and wizards and stuff. So all these things we got to see at the beginning of the millennium, right? A new marketing of old technology. And so when AI came out in November of general AI to the mass public, what I witnessed was a revolution, like the internet was a revolution, changing of methodologies and mentalities. And so for the managed service provider, that also meant a change as well. So I'm gonna briefly run through a couple of slides and then we're gonna talk. I've been around for a long time, a lot of certifications. I advise a lot of people, and I'm just a guy, just happen to be embedded in this technological world that we live in. But my main goal now, having been in so long, is AI literacy, AI implementation in the right way. Now, I don't go around talking and saying, hey, this is the way you do it. I give you an overview and then let you help yourself by asking me questions. And then I give you the best answer I can, because what I answer today, technology would change 3 months from now, next week. So let's demystify generative AI. Generative AI and prompt engineering, all that good stuff, is for anybody who knows good English. Anybody that knows good English can prompt engineer. So when they first came out with $300,000 for a prompt engineer, I put out a thesaurus and a dictionary. Now, see, anybody can do this. And as you saw, that quickly went away. So, but what happened was it identified gaps. It identified the gaps of who knew good English and who did not. And those who knew good English became prompt engineers. Good English in Python made you over a $500,000 wage earner. So what I want to talk about, and I'm not a salesperson at all, I developed a methodology, which is out there on LinkedIn, to address businesses, to address SOCs, my first thing was to address cybersecurity into AI security. That's critical, right? And that was a criticality because that's what I cut my teeth in, my bread and butter. Cybersecurity to AI security. Cyber NOCs and SOCs to AI NOCs and SOCs. And what I had to do to accomplish this was being a GRC person. I had to find out what GRC meant to AI, because organizations like IAPP were putting out the AI GP, and that was becoming the standard for GRC in AI. However, the majority of people
so you're going to have to break down some of those acronyms.
Okay, I'm sorry. International Association of Privacy Professionals put out the first AI certification, and it's called the AI Governance Professional, AIGP. And for the longest time, ISC Square, all the cybersecurity people didn't have anything for AI. So the first people to jump out on that was the IAPP. And so a lot of people were certifying AIGP, but most of them were lawyers. The large percentage of them were attorneys. And so I took a lot of their courses to find out how they defined AI, GRC. Come to find out, they did not know anything about MSPs, the composition of enterprise implementation of the enterprise, which ran the company. They had no idea. But yet these people were the AI people. And I said, that's not going to work, because you thinking AI as an application, but to us, AI is just on a bunch of servers, right? And so I had to try to bridge those two. I had to try to bridge what AI GRC is in the middle, what they think and what we think, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference. There's a big, huge difference. And in that, I created something called a CAISO, certified, I don't know, it is the CISO, which we know, and a CAIO, the Certified AI Officer, and created a AI Security Officer. And that is still getting traction. The main thing I went back to is literacy and enterprise literacy. So let me show you some other things, right? AI literacy and why it's important. You can have AI in your organization and everybody's going to use it wrong because maybe a company knee jerk and said, I have to have AI because this company has AI. But how does that affect the company and how does that impact the workers? Does it make them scared? Do they think they're going to lose their jobs? Do they think they're training their jobs and stuff like that? And so I think of AI implementations from the receptionist up to the CEO, not from the CEO down to the receptionist. I do it just the opposite, right? Because that front desk receptionist is using the same AI as the CEO. We learned that lesson during COVID, right? During COVID, your mom used the same network speed as you did, except you use your network at home and a VPN. And so hackers targeted the seniors again, except en masse. Now we have deep fakes and things like that, right? But so in COVID, everybody was using the same user. You was using Verizon or AT&T, using the same networks. And so now with AI, it's a lot more dangerous. And because the data that you're putting into your large language models is accessible to the front desk person as is the CEO. Because there isn't any breakdown of, you can't take large language models and say this data right here is accessible to each group or this group. Everybody is accessible to the whole language model. So in MSPs, the security of large language models is of great concern. How do you secure HR data from the truckers? How do you secure the financial office like we could do with cloud? So the implementation that I know you're facing is, all right, we want to bring in AI, but how do I make sure that my HR people are not seeing the financial data? Have we figured that out? No, we have not, because a large language model is a large language model. So people are going to find out running multiple AI systems. Well, how does that work? Because you don't have any collaboration. So let me get back down to, the AI literacy part. In AI literacy, the demographics are staggering. I'm from a rural area. And so we have poor technology out here. We have, I'm in the farming community, things like that. So when we're talking AI literacy across the board, it's not across the board. So these folks are the people going to be the first ones that's not going to adapt. And some of your MSPs are in these rural areas. Some of these MSPs are saying, okay, this is cheaper to put this right here. I'm going to come out here and put a company, but where I'm going to get the labor, 5G networks. So let's get to the demystifying generative AI. The governance framework, as I was talking about before, right? We're managed service providers. And I'm hoping everybody here is in the cyber side, right? We have a lot of rules and regulations that apply to our clients, to your clients. And also, how do we work very hard to have methodologies and taxonomies to be able to engage with those clients? If your clients are in a payment system, you have different methodologies. It just depends upon what you're using. So how do we do that with AI and be clear and have a framework for it? Now, we have MIT working on frameworks. We have Harvard working on frameworks. We have the NIST working on frameworks. I'm on a lot of these organizations. Cloud Security Alliance, National AI Advisory Council, most everything I'm on to help develop these frameworks. I was on all 4 of their framework groups for the EU AI Act. And these people put things out, I'm going to tell you the truth, they're really not applicable. And the reason I say that is they're high level stuff, right? They're still all laws and acts, but they're high level stuff. How do you get it down to your companies and make it effective? How do you get in security controls? How do you put in a roadmap to a company that wants to have AI and they think it's going to benefit them? That is, I think, your main concern. They want AI. They say they need AI, but how do you bring AI into a company? How do you make it effective and how do you make it work? Number one, you have to close the workforce gap. And this is my viewpoint. You have to make there was a time when your employees were vested to a company, right? They believed that they joined your company and they joined a company and they were going to grow. They were going to stay. They went to the company picnics and had the company hot dogs, and everybody met everybody from trucking, met HR and HRA, and they had the balloons, and you get dump the CEO in the water booth and things like that, right? And everybody knew everybody. That was the good old days, and you vested into that company, no matter what, it stood by your side. Well,
Yeah.
now we're in age where if you don't vest into your workforce with AI, they're gone. The business is gone. So the core thing after my years in the military, we always learned one thing, that the lowest ranking person is the one that inspectors always went to. They didn't talk to the generals and the colonels. They talked to that soldier out there in the field, because he didn't know what and what not to say. They didn't know what and what not to say.
Yeah.
And they were intimidated. So when you come into a company as MSP, I think the very first thing you need to do with AI is training before you even implement. You have to make them want to. And one of the suggestions that I use is, maybe you don't remember the day when you had in a department, let's say financial, you had that one financial person that came to the weekly meeting with the tech people, and they got, they said, well, this is a new way to do a printer. We've been putting this in your department, and so on and so and so. And they was like the fire chief of AI for computer people in your organization.
Yeah.
So I think AI should be the same way. I think that in order to make a department integrate with AI is to get that one person, give them a badge, give them a certificate or something. And so now, and continue
Have them be so people can come to them. One of the things that I'm not seeing, Stephen, is that the ITSL or ITSM framework is not really embracing AI the way it needs to embrace AI, so that you can kind of bring AI into ITSM effectively. And and for those of you who might not, like, IT service management is a framework, right? And if you don't bring like what you're talking about is really bringing the frameworks into an ITSM like framework.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The reason for that is because there are frameworks that's trying to address the ITSM. The problem is the tech keeps changing.
Yes.
The technology keeps changing. A large organization I know is having a big problem with that right now is the Department of Defense. Because when you baseline systems, right, this happens for AI as well. When you baseline, we're going to bring in AI into an organization, right? You have to make sure all the servers are within line, change management. You have to make sure that all the software is upgradable and tracked. You have to make sure all your HR processes and change management, all change management has to be documented. That is ITSM in a nutshell. AI does not allow you to do that. And so let me tell you why. So you baseline your large language model, right? You said, okay, it is now secure at this point. Somebody goes in and does a query and types in the letter A. That language model is not the same from that point. It immediately just changed. Your baseline changed immediately. Whereas with a server or a system or a process, is repetitive. And any change goes through change management. And you have backup plans and things like that. With a large language model, as soon as the data changes, then the language model changes. Security is
now you have to reestablish a new baseline,
and you can't do that. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Holy moly, man. Really, we got to go back to the education, because the education is what's going to make the difference.
So even if you had a backup of the language model, if something changes the language model, there isn't any backup plan you can implement. The data is now different. If it was something critical, the data changes. You can't go backwards.
Yeah. There isn't a give me my data back. And
exactly.
Look, this is something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, even with ChatGPT, their EULA, their license, their agreement has changed like 8 or 9 different times. And then they said, well, we're not going to train on your data. Then they said, okay, we are going to train on your data. And then we said, we're not going to train on your data. And the last one says, we're going to train on your data. I know a customer that entered some data, right? Not one of our customers, but a customer's customer entered data. I went into ChatGPT from my instance, and I can find data from that company in ChatGPT if I ask the right questions.
So your data, I can pull mobilely. I don't have to be sitting behind a desk. It is the large language model. And so if you have a private large language model, right, then who do you want to hire as an MSP to make sure that that data is updated and secure? So you're adding complexity to something that, okay, why can't we just get a EULA from OpenAI? Because there isn't any guarantees. There isn't any guarantees. If you go, so let me give you another example. Microsoft put on everything, Copilot, every application they have on your Windows 11, on your Office 365, all that, Copilot. And there isn't any local large language model. It's all going to Microsoft. Chrome, if you're using Chrome, now you have Gemini. Looking at upper, I'm looking right now, I'm looking at on my screen, I'm looking at, this is Adobe, and the top right is Ask AI Assistant. What do you think the day is? What do you think the day is going? You know how far this goes back? It goes back to when we had Microsoft Word in the paperclip. Microsoft Word in the paperclip, which did your word spell checking, things like Ask the Paperclip.
Yeah, Clippy.
It started collecting your data right then. And Google was after that. But right then is when your data went to Microsoft. So let's talk about issues with MSP's implementation, right? So I told you I'm kind of unconventional. I really don't like talking slides. I like talking to people. I like listening to answering questions. And so this is a huge presentation. But one of the things, let me tell you my methodology and why this is so huge, right? I am an AI literacy person. I'm a proponent of AI education is going to save us, right? But AI education is actually being a humanist, talking to people and find out what the problem is. It's not going around doing a bunch of presentations with a bunch of slides of like people are literate and illiterate, because it's important. You have to listen to people. You have to listen to their problems and resolve them. And those problems, you can't dictate use cases. You have to create use cases. You can create portfolios, but you can't dictate use cases because everybody is different. And so I like going around annotating use cases and making use cases and then seeing how they match up. So what I really, really in my heart would like to do, right? You all have the presentation. Now, when I created this presentation, I created the methodology, and it's out there. My methodologies I created almost the beginning of the year for all for AI SOC. I do have one for MSPs. I forgot AI MSPs, all of that, because I'm a cyber person. But there wasn't any engine to drive it, right? It's just a guy creating all these methodologies. Yeah, I got a lot of reviews and stuff, but I had no methodology to drive it. And so I searched and I searched in the search, and that's where you see AI search come in. And I don't work for AI search. They work for me. So when I start talking literacy, I had to find somebody that could span all the different realms of literacy that I want, because I've done council, IC squares, ISACA, I'm in all of them, I've done all of them. But I needed somebody to be able to talk to globally the people that I could talk to humanistically, and then sit there and say, this is how you get started. So right now, if Joe will let me, I want to kill this thing. I want to talk. I want a town hall from this point forward, if you'll let me. So I know the presentation was short.
I'm all in, buddy.
I know the presentation. Presentation was short, but I know you guys are not crazy. If she put the PDF in the chat, what am I running through slides for? You're trying to find out how you put AI into your MSPs, and that's going to require a conversation. But there's no way I can create this slide for you. So Joe, we're going to shut this off. You guys download this thing from your chat and go home and read it, or do as you want. If there's other questions, just ask me. But let's talk about. I want a conversation. I want this to be a town hall, and let's do it this point. I'm gonna stop this share.
Right. No, is that this presentation is going to community. For those of you who are community members, there's going to be a link in there. You'll be able to reach out to Steven and get all your questions answered from him. Today, you should take all his contact information so that once you have that presentation, you can go back, look at it, and see what questions you have. And really, for those of you who can come off and come on camera, that would be great. It'd be great to see you. It'd be great to chat with you. And take it away, Steven.
So I think it works for everybody. that one of the things I need to engage you with is the fact that there isn't any set standard that doesn't change next week. They put out a lot of laws and acts and things like that as if it is actually able to be done. I have one behind me, as if able to be done. You're going to have to, as a community, engage with each other to find out how our clients, because the clients don't know. They're coming to you for information, right? They're coming to you for information that is a twig in a hurricane, a twig in a hurricane. So it's people like me who's taking the time to deep dive into this to give you just the breadcrumbs that we know, because we can't give you the loaf because the government's going to change. So I would love to know at this point, raise a hand and give me, so let's talk about a real live use case. I think use cases should be done real live, because Mark's use case is different than David's, it's different than Rob's, different than Lori's. It's different because you're not all working for the same company or the same MSP or the same clients. So if you will, I'm not going to call on names. I did this at Toastmasters. I used to point people at Toastmasters. I would love for one person to give me a problem that you're facing in MSP, or a query or a question. And because that question is going to go across the whole conversation. So who would like to be the first? Please don't let me call somebody. Rob, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, how you doing, brother? Tell me a problem you're facing.
I got some paralegals worrying about their job.
Okay, that's not great. And the reason why I say that, just the other day, I'm not a legal person, but I took a course called AI Legal. I've never been in a legal profession, and I only passed the test by 2 points. Out of 100, I got 72% right. Blew me away. I started a document, a use case on my own just the other day, about 3 days ago, for a legal office, basically. They address from the paralegals all the way up to the attorneys. I would gladly get you that. Gladly. I just did that 4 days ago. I'm going to upload this. Well, actually, I'm going to put my email address in here.
If you can email it to Carla, that'd be great too. We'll
Okay.
put your email address. We'll put your email
Okay.
address, but that's okay. But one of
Okay.
the things that I think that Rob is talking about, and one of the things that you talked about earlier, is this human in the loop. Right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
So Rob, right now, I think one good way to kind of assuage their fears, right, is law firms are paying big fines right now because AI is hallucinating cases and giving it to lawyers as if these cases are real. So what those paralegals want to do is they want to use AI to go do some of the research for them, but then they need to go and verify that those aren't mock trial cases, that those are real cases, that is a real situation, right? And so for the foreseeable future, the human in the loop needs to verify all of the work, because as we saw in these very public cases, the data was wrong. And those law firms got fined hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in those two respective cases where that came out. And a few lawyers got disbarred. So with those paralegals, you need to go back and say, hey, listen, you can use AI for research, but you have to verify all the precedent, all the law, all the cases, every single thing that's there, because AI lies.
Yes. One of the things that I did learn, again, and I come from a legal background, but going through this very intense course, was that the human in the loop is still very critical, very critical. Now, what is paramount in this is that those paralegals have training in AI to be able to recognize when AI is lying, right? And to be able to stand up and say, okay, hallucinating, so that there is data showing that a lot of people are fearful of AI taking jobs. And they will say, oh, and by 2026, we need 1.5 million jobs in AI. That's not true. What they mean to say is, if these people where are the 1.5 million going to come from? What they mean to say is, we need to workforce upskill. We need to workforce transition. So that administrative assistant just had training. And they'll probably get a new job title. So, but it's still the same people. And that's where the human in loop comes in, are coming in training, right? And so Rob, for your paralegal examples, right? They're afraid their research capability is going to be impacted by AI, right? If you look at the people who are implementing AI, they're saying, no, that's not going to really be the case. We're going to use AI to do maybe faster, like Google searches, but the people are still going to be there because of the exposure and liability. So actually in that document, one of the use cases is legal, but so Rob, I have use cases real life. So let's go to the next one. There's so many different use cases that are going through my head right now that I just want to hear them. And I'm so glad, Rob, you participated.
And that certification that you took, was that at AI Certs?
That was the AI Certs.
Yeah. So Rob, that's a great resource for you. You can actually become an AI Certs partner and send your folks to that training.
I was going to talk about that. If you become an AI affiliate and train for free at the AI Certs, you don't have to become a training partner. You can become a single person AI affiliate and train them for free. I mean, train them for cost is I think $195. One of the things I caution, since they're in the legal area, it'll be easy for them. Me, it was hard because I had to learn a lot of different things about the legal profession and attorneys and this stuff I don't know. But then I took some of the other certifications in security, breeze. Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much for participating. Who will be the next person, please?
What are the challenges that you guys are facing right now with AI? What are the things that your clients are asking you? Go ahead, Jesse.
So I'm not working for any consulting firm, but I'm working for an industry company. In this company, the top management, I would say that they know on the surface level the benefit of of incorporating or train the internal staff on AI. However, the training is like you go to this training portal, and you train yourself. They will give you a co-pilot license. What Stephen was saying makes sense just now, that you need to have an AI expert lead to guide us. I have a pain point right now. We have a couple of thousand software product, okay? Because of last year, there was the US government, which is Joe Biden, who signed off, our ex-president, that any software company in the US selling software product to the US government, we got to go through this CISA attestation. We got to ensure that the software environment, I joined them end of May, and I have a deadline on September 8th. And this company has thousands of products. You see my stress level, and they don't have proper control process in place, right? So it was a struggle. And to meet the deadline, I have no choice. I had to get individual R&D team to provide me screenshot. It's stupid because I don't have time to kind of like help them to design control. But now I have the time right now. But I'm thinking about using AI, but I struggle. I struggle because the company said, Jesse, you got to use Copilot. I'm trained on my studio, on my own. They said that, oh, go to this, Udemy training portal and try to train yourself out on Copilot license. It's not that, you take a training course at Udemy, you'll be a Copilot expert. No, forget. The other critical part is the data. Okay. You got to have right data point and it's structured. If you have unstructured, again, it will give you bad output or it will hallucinate, right? You know what I'm talking about? Then you'll be the blindly the blind. That is my pain point right now.
So Jesse, go ahead, Stephen, go ahead.
Jesse, you just outlined most of the problem with implementations in the United States that I know of. That right there was the baseline that AI is implemented from the top down and not the bottom up. And when it happens that way, the lot of the mistakes that's going to be made are going to be made at the top, but blamed on the bottom. One of the things I would recommend to you, there isn't any universal Copilot training, and Udemy definitely is not the best way.
No.
Udemy is not the best way because out of Udemy, you get nothing. So somebody suggested Udemy. Go out to Udemy or Coursera and train yourself. Not universally in a company, because not everybody trains the same or getting the same data, getting the same information, or be able to
And
pass the same test.
not getting certifications that are real
You're not
certifications
getting
that are
certification,
meaningful,
you're not
No.
getting
that
certified.
mean something.
Yeah, it's like, it looks good. Oh, yeah, you complete this Udemy course, but to me, it's more application,
Yes.
solving problems. That is the impact I would like to see, to really say that I'm AI literate, I'm AI trained. That means that I
Yes.
can take a real problem, apply the
Yes.
AI understanding, and solve the problems, right? You
Yes.
know?
I hate to sound like a salesperson, but that's the AI education scale that AI search. That's the reason I went AI search. No, I don't work for AI search. They solve my problems. They solve problems like this. And so again, I brought them in because when I hear, and you're not the first person. I heard this from DC all the way to Bangkok. I needed a company that could address this problem efficiently, effectively, and competently. And that's why I brought in AI search. So after this, if you want to talk to me, Carla, Joe will give you my information. I'll gladly talk to you about them.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll put a link to AI search in the chat so
Yes.
that you can go look at it there. The other thing, Jesse, is we have a training day coming up, and I highly, 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 highly recommend that you attend. It's going to be in Philadelphia. We're going to be talking about process automation, and particularly we're talking about Power Automate, but it's about how to use Power Automate with Copilot to get work done. So I think you'll get a lot of benefit and value from that. We'll make sure that that information is in the chat as well.
Joe, I don't think so because of budget cut. Every company is
The
going through.
training is completely free. It's one-day training. You can come in the morning and leave in the evening.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to also tell you that AI Search does AI Foundations is completely free. It's completely free, and you get certification for, and they're offering a lot of their stuff now. If you want universal AI orientation, I have to say AI Search Foundation is free now.
Awesome. That's really great.
Stephen, can you share the information, or Joe, can you get it from
It's
Stephen?
in the chat right now, and you'll get
Yes.
it in
Well,
the post-webinar email as well.
I'll send you the link to the free. It's the same course, but there's a link that says free. So I'll send that to you, Joe, Carla, after the.
We'll send it in the post-webinar
Yes.
email. We'll
Yes.
make sure that it goes out with that.
So
We have
Anything else?
opportunity for one more.
let's see. George, this is like a Toastmasters meeting.
Hey, Lori.
Hey,
How you doing, sir?
good.
You're next on The Price is Right.
Well, my whole thing that I've been trying to get my head around is to be able to have pedestrian conversations with business folks and just get the conversation going and really narrow down on where would AI be the most appropriate?
Yes.
Where would it have an impact?
Yes.
So,
That is my bread and butter, per se, is how to get the conversation started. And it is, if you don't approach it, I believe, with empathy, then you don't get the message across.
Mm.
The message is this, right? AI is as harmful as you allow it to be. Now, we want to bring it into your infrastructure for process improvement, but the core of any business is still the people. Once you start the conversation with the people, then the rest of it becomes pretty much easy. People is HR, HR is finance, finance is the executives are the sales, and the sales drive the cybersecurity because the infrastructure. That's been the way since the millennium. But you have to begin with empathy. I begin everything with empathy. I understand. And you have to go in with that, the old sales pitch where they brought in the sales team and they started talking against the whiteboard and you started yawning. I don't believe in that. I've been through that. I believe that if you want to sell me something, let's go to lunch at Jason's Deli. Let's talk over a meal, right?
Yeah.
So AI implementation is different across the board and different across the world. And I believe with the variances of people and emotions toward AI, the scariness, you got one last thing I want to say. Everybody using AI, whether they are MIT grads or not, everybody thinks of the Terminator. Everybody thinks of the Terminator. I
Yep.
don't care what they say. Everybody thinks about the Terminator. So you got to reach them anti-Terminator-ish,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
It's not going to launch the missiles. We're not going to die.
Part of
Yes.
that, what Stephen said earlier, I think, George, is really understanding what are the discrete problems that you can solve for your clients. And one of the
Yes.
things that Stephen said that's critical for you, George. George, are you focusing on a particular vertical or are you agnostic?
I'll say agnostic in the sense that I deal mostly with MSPs, and then their clientels obviously run the gamut as far as verticals go.
So since you run the gamut as far as verticals go, the thing that you have to do is figure out what's the discrete problem for each person that AI solves. So you have to
Yes.
go in and say, okay, well, you have this discrete problem over here. You have you're a window manufacturer and you need a better warranty process. You're a dermatologist and you need a better way to set appointments. You're a podiatrist and you need a better way to take pictures of feet and analyze them. So whatever the discrete problem is, start from
Yes.
the discrete problem. And then once you get in and you solve a discrete problem, then it opens the door for other conversations. But if
Yes.
you don't start with a discrete problem, if you try to have this SIA of AI that's going to solve all the problems, then that's when they start thinking about the Terminator.
Right.
So
So,
don't do it as a panacea. Go ahead, Steve.
So to capitalize on that, and thank you for that, Joe. And what I was trying to get to is this. You have to pull that out of them. You have to pull what the problem is out of them, because they don't go with the assumption that you do have a problem. And like Rob and his problem, you do have a problem. They really don't know how to articulate that. And so it's up to you to be able to understand or be, like I said, again, emphatic with them to understand their problem versus capability of AI. And when you're able to match those two, you can go into different lanes, business lanes, create portfolios to actually train AI and bring AI into an organization at scale. Once you gain the trust of a client, they never go away. Once you gain the trust of a client and they feel they can, quote unquote, talk to somebody, they never go away. Do you have that client? Me and client trust is paramount. Paramount, client trust. And now that everything is changing so much with AI, thank you, Jesse. With AI, they need to be able to trust you. And so that's why I changed it to talk to me, go into a client. Like I see different lanes of everything all day long, right? How do we bring this into a healthcare system? Not just a doctor's office. A healthcare system has so many different specialties, has so many different types of equipment. How we bring it to a healthcare system, that's huge.
I'm going to start
Yes.
wrapping you up right there.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We only have 5 minutes left, and I know people have to jump because we're coming to the head of the hour. So here's
Yes.
an important thing. How do they get a hold of you, and what can you help them with?
You can get a hold of me. Just email me. It's the best way. Or go to my LinkedIn. If you give me a second, I will post it.
We're
Please.
going to send it in the post.
Okay.
In the post,
My LinkedIn.
Yeah.
My LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold. Go to my LinkedIn, please. I answer everybody, and through LinkedIn, I also connect you to other communities that can help you. And that's why I said LinkedIn. You send me a problem. If I don't know the answer, I'm quick to say, I just don't know. But I have a network of people who do.
And what are the things that you could do for them to help them with their clients?
If you need training of any kind, I can put you into AI search. I want you to go to AI search and look at the massive, they have 49 certifications. I have went through a bunch of them myself. I recommend them because I went through some of them myself. They are very in-depth. Their platform is fantastic. And I would think that if having MSPs or being an MSP, you'd probably want to be an affiliate yourself. So you can, I validate myself. The military taught me, don't have somebody do something you wouldn't do yourself.
So very, very cool. So the last thing that I want to say to everybody is we have the training day coming up. Hopefully, Stephen, you'll be able to join us there and you'll get to meet all these wonderful people in person. But training day is going to be at Villanova University. You can sign up. I think Carla is going to put a link in the chat. So if you would like to join us at training day, you can join us there. this training will be available for all the Spark and Ignite members inside of the community. So you'll be able to see it there. And we might send you a little present in the post webinar email queue so that you can watch the replay if you missed some parts of it. I think with that said, we just want to give a big thank you and cyber hug to Stephen for the amazing training today. Thank you so much. If there's anybody else that wants to say any last stuff to Stephen, you can go ahead and unmute.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's been my pleasure. I hope you did gain something.
No, I was just going to say thanks to both of you. Very helpful advice and truly enjoyed the session.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Take care, all. See you
All right,
soon.
bye.
Thank you so much, everybody.